Would you rather see the Blackhawks take major steps back in the standings to get that big time draft pick, or would you rather have them be knocking on the door, play competitive hockey right through the spring, and whether they sneak into the playoffs or not, they're playing meaningful hockey in the spring again? What's your mindset on that? And I also want to transition this video into a keep or sell conversation in terms of some of these veteran players on this roster. So, what's your mindset on that with the Blackhawks?
It's honestly a great question. The way that I see this is, the Blackhawks are not a Stanley Cup contender at this point, and if they were, it would be absolutely just very surprising. It would be like OKC Thunder winning in 2023 rather than last year, and it's just like they have so many picks. So the Blackhawks have two first round picks. They have the Toronto Maple Leafs pick in the second round, the Islanders pick in the second round, their own pick in the second round. They have 10 picks in the first two rounds of the next 3 years combined. And I just feel like that's so many assets that you can take. And they're not going to be able to sign a lot of these players. I mean, you can see like a guy like, who was it? It was, he plays for the Lightning, Dominic James.
Oh
Now
yeah.
he's one of the fastest players in the entire NHL, and the Blackhawks couldn't sign him, and it was just unfortunate. But he saw the amount of prospects that they had coming up, and he realized that it was a sinking ship if he went there because the days are numbered if you're not one of the top prospects on a team, and you could just go to the Lightning, who are a really good organization, but they don't have the type of prospects. So are the Blackhawks going to be able to use those assets, whoever they may be, if it's a prospect, a player, or like a guy like Connor Murphy or Jason Dickinson, to acquire, that wing player for Connor Bedard? And if they do that, are they blocking a spot for a really great prospect when he really needs to come up? Like an Oliver Moore should not be playing in the bottom six right now. He should be, either playing in Rockford, getting a lot of
Yeah.
time on ice, playing that number one line time on ice, or he should be on the top six with, Frank Nazar. In my opinion, with they both show their speed, but he's playing on the third line right now. So if they bring in somebody else, I don't want that to block a position for them. They also have Korchinski coming up in the reins. You got to figure out what you have in him. Is he going to be a trade chip? I do not want a Lucas Reichel situation where you squeeze out all the value and then you trade him for, a fourth round pick. And at that point, it's just really nothing for the team because that fourth round pick is probably going to be not really that much on this team when you have all these prospects.
Yeah.
So I would want to see the Blackhawks make the playoffs if it's built around the kids. Like if the new era or the new generation of the Blackhawks are the ones doing it. If it's like Spencer Knight standing on his head every night and it's multiple crossbars that are being hit and the Blackhawks should have lost because they're outshot 50 shots to 30 or whatever it is. Like I'd kind of rather have a lottery team. But if it's a situation where Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, Artem Levshunov took a step, like Sam Renzel is just absolutely out of his mind with his point production, like I would want to see that and that team make the playoffs because you want to get these guys the confidence to believe in themselves. And Jeff Blashill has already kind of shown how good of a coach he is, and he changed the culture on the team. So it's kind of a win-win situation for whatever happens. And the Blackhawks have so many first-round picks in the next few years and so many second-round picks that they're probably going to have a third first round pick again this year because
Mhm.
they have three second round picks, and they always just trade with the Carolina Hurricanes for some reason in the first round. And I do believe it, and I do believe that Malholtra is going to be on the Blackhawks because the Blackhawks seem to love their Brantford Bulldogs. I don't know, how they're going to do it, but they always end up with a third first round pick, and then they
Or
draft the
they could
Brantford
draft Vlad.
Bulldog.
They could draft Vlad maybe
They
too.
could. They could. I, they're gonna draft Malholtra or Vlad or both. Like, but this is a team that just has so many assets that you have to just go for it,
Mhm.
and that will allow Connor Bedard to get the safety net where he's going to sign a big deal because that's kind of the only thing the Blackhawks fans really care about at this point. I know that we're thinking playoffs or whatever it is, but at this point, it's like it's it's not the year for the Blackhawks. Like, it's not a championship year. Their championship window is not open yet, but you want to give them that experience. So if they do end up fighting for a playoff spot and they're trading for somebody, it should be somebody that they see in their lineup for years to come and not just like rentals. You should never buy rentals with this team. It just wouldn't make sense.
No, I agree. I think do not go for rentals. So I'm gonna fire something big time at you. It might be premature, but maybe it's something Blackhawks fans would entertain. But say
Austin
Buffalo,
Matthews.
no, say Buffalo calls and says, "Hey, Kyle Davidson, Frondell and Nick Lardis, give us, and we'll give you Tage Thompson."
I would say no.
You would say no.
Yeah.
No Tage
I
Thompson
actually
next to Bedard?
I actually tweeted out like 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, would you give up like two first round picks, Nolan Allen, and a second round or two second round picks for Tage Thompson? And people were like screaming, like, no, he's not good, blah blah blah. Like
Tage is
that's
not
just
good is a crazy
so
take.
yeah, it was well they were saying that he was not worth that price. And Tage Thompson's worth a lot of things.
Have people
The thing
not
is
seen
like
his contract too? His contract's one of the
yeah.
biggest. We always hype up Frank Nazar as a steal. Tage Thompson's making less than $8 million. Like Tage Thompson's on a steal of a deal.
He is one of the best like snipers, goal scorers. Having him and Bedard on a power play, like I would definitely give up a guy like a Nick Lardis for that because you're basically replacing Nick Lardis and his sniping attributes for a Tage Thompson. But giving up Anton Frandel would kind of be hard basically on what he's doing in the SHL. But
Mhm.
also like that is a fair deal. But I just think that the Blackhawks would probably want to prefer giving away pieces and packaging a lot of stuff that they don't really necessarily need rather than core pieces that are going to be there for a very long time because they drafted Anton Frandel because he had an incredible shot and his two-way game was really great and his transition game is only going to get better when he goes to the American rink size from the Swedish, bigger rink sizes, and his transition game was one of the weakest parts of his game. So I do believe that Frandel could be a star, but at this point, like Tage Thompson's probably worth more than that, but I just can't see the Blackhawks doing that because like it's giving up the third overall player which you invested so much into for a guy that you do have to pay now, and it's the window is probably in a year or two. So
I
Tage
was no, it's
Thompson
I was
so
just
good.
curious. Yeah, he's so good, and I think you know what, it's tough with talking with so many different fan bases sometimes too, because it's like everyone doesn't want to give to get sometimes, Anthony. It's funny, right? Like I think that's sometimes the feedback or the responses. Like I'm sure that was kind of the responses you're getting on socials. Like I don't even know if Buffalo's accepting that because I've talked to Sabres
I don't
fans and
think so
people around
either. Yeah.
Buffalo. I don't even know if Buffalo accepts that, and I don't even know if Buffalo accepts the initial deal that you talked about because Buffalo doesn't want futures. They want guys that can step in. And that's why I mentioned Frondell and Lardis because those two guys are knocking on the door of the NHL very soon, right? Like we could see those two guys in the NHL in the next year or two, right? So I think that's kind of where my perspective is. I think for any big name that Chicago gets, you're going to have to give up a prominent prospect or prominent young player on this team. And Blackhawks fans just have to accept that. So either they're patient and they understand, hey, we're okay with waiting for Frondell and for Lardis to join the likes of Frank Nazar and Bedard and Oliver Moore in the top six. If you guys are okay with waiting for that, then that's fine. I actually think they probably should wait for that. But at the same time, if you want a youngish guy or a guy in his prime that's going to join Bedard now and could see the Blackhawks winning as soon as next year, you're going to have to pay to get, whether that be a guy like Tage Thompson, whether that be a guy like, I don't think they're going to be trading with a rival team, but like I think Nashville and St. Louis might blow it up at some point soon if it doesn't keep going well. So I don't think they're trading with a rival in Chicago, but that's why I mentioned Buffalo because it is cross conference
Well,
and there's some natural fit there.
that was a great question because now, like, I am thinking about Anton Frandel and Lardis for Tage Thompson. The Blackhawks would probably have to give up like a pick or two for that to happen. But the reason I say no is because of the Anton Frandel draft capital that you gave him, and also who you didn't draft. Where it's like the you know I just am a big believer in an Anton Frandel, but the Blackhawks probably would want a Tage Thompson, honestly, for that price. It's not a
Imagine Tage
deadly
next
price.
to Bedard on
Yeah.
that top line. That right wing would be
He's
crazy.
kind of the perfect fit for the Blackhawks. And then you don't even have to give up any of your first round picks this year. The Blackhawks probably do that, honestly.
It's
At
tough. No,
first
I
I was
don't
like,
blame you. It's tough. It is tough. So I think I want to transition this into what I taled about. So I'm gonna throw. I love your explanations, but let's make this try to a little bit of a rapid fire because I think there's a
okay.
lot of guys that the Blackhawks could actually, depending on where they are in the standings, they could juggle. So I'm gonna fire you a name. I know it's sometimes hard just to do one word answers, but if you want to give quick reasoning, that works too. I'm gonna give you a keep or sell. Obviously, just assume it's market value. So I'll give an example. If the Blackhawks were going to trade, I don't know, Andre Burakovsky today, his value's gone way up. I would expect the Blackhawks to get either like multiple second round picks or as close to a first round pick right now. I know that's a lot, and maybe people think that's a lot, but go check out Burakovsky's production right now. So again, just assume it's for what market value or what teams are looking for in terms of production. So I'll throw it back at you. Andre Burakovsky, keep or sell?
If it's for a second and a third round pick value, then yes. If it's only for a second, probably not.
Cool. Tyler Bertuzzi, keep or sell?
Sell if you get it really good fair market value. His contract's tough.
Yeah. Teuvo Teravainen, keep or sell?
Keep.
I like it. Jason Dickinson,
Sell.
Ilya Mikheyev,
Sell.
Ryan Donato.
Keep.
This one's an interesting one because he's young enough that he could be part of this growing core, but to me, his role's been interesting, and I don't know if he fits. But Colton Dach, keep or sell?
Keep for sure.
Yeah. Where do you, on that note, I want to keep going with more players, but where do you see his fit? Do you see him as the championship third liner for this team?
Bottom six, you throw him out there like fourth line probably. And when I talk about bottom six, I would be like not like ninth to 12th forward. So it's just like you throw him out there on a line, you want him to hit as many players as possible in a playoff game, like an Andrew Shaw-esque type.
Gotcha. Yeah, that makes sense. And this one's controversial because he's a massive veteran. He's been on the team for a while. Keep or sell Connor Murphy?
You sell.
You sell? You get a second round pick for Connor Murphy. You say yes?
Yeah, do it. Yeah, 100%.
Okay. Wow. I'm sure some Blackhawks fans are going to feel differently about that. I'm going to be curious to see the comments. This is another interesting one, just in terms of the fit and Levshinov's rise a little bit, and in terms of how the Blackhawks are structured. Are you trading one of the younger defensemen in a package for a forward that could end up being Bedard's winger? So I'm going to throw some names at you, and you tell me how you maybe see the roadmap. So if we're splitting it up as like Sam Rinzel, Korchinski, Del Mastro, I'm probably missing one or two. Um, like I guess maybe I'll ask it this way. In terms of rankings of defensemen that you're 100% going to keep down to the younger defensemen that are top four potential, where do you rank in terms of Blackhawks 100% keeping down to like, hey, I could see them being included in a package for a top six forward?
So it's more about like trade value. I feel like Rinzel and Artie are untouchable at this point, unless
Okay.
you get like a Keaton Verhoff and you just walk into it and you want to reset. I even think that you shouldn't even do that. Just take Ivar Stenberg or Tyden Lawrence. But then it would be Kaiser, because I think Kaiser has fit into the core for the Blackhawks defense. EDM as well is in there where he could be. I think Korchinski's kind of on a trade block that if you can get a core piece, that you solidify yourself as a core piece, then you might trade him. But at the same time, he's put up really good numbers in the AHL. His offensive skill set is really showing as he gains more confidence. So I do feel like he's one of those players that I would like to see stick in the Blackhawks organization. But at the same time, if you're getting Bedard's winger, like he's a player that you have to just dangle, in my opinion. I think Nolan Allen is probably on his way out, former first-round pick to the Blackhawks, but I just don't really see a fit for him. Crevier, I do like, really big right-handed defenseman. He shoots the puck pretty hard, one of the hardest shots in the entire NHL based this year. So I do feel like he could have a fit on the Blackhawks. His draft capital was very like sixth round pick, seventh round pick, so they didn't really give up anything to get him. So you kind of just want to keep him. There's not a lot of Blackhawks defensive prospects. They're probably going to try to draft a couple of them next year, but there's really nothing else. So I think Kaiser would be the one you dangle. I mean, Korchinski.
Korchinski. Okay. So if they make no veteran moves on the back end, don't change anything, you could see it as Vlasic, Crevier, Kaiser, Levshunov, Del Mastro, and Rinzel. Is that fair?
Yeah, yeah. Like on the right side, if you do trade Connor Murphy, then you would have Crevier fitting into the right side in that third pair. Then you have Rinzel and Levshinov. So it's Rinzel, Levshinov, Crevier on the right side, Vlasic, Kaiser, EDM.
Yep, that makes total sense to me. And then that's why it made sense that you talked about potentially Allen and Korchinski being traded. And honestly, there's good value still for Korchinski, obviously a former higher first round pick. I think that's a guy that you dangle. I know to me, the reason I didn't include Korchinski in that Buffalo mock trade is because Buffalo already has so many left shot defensemen. They don't need another Korchinski type. So that's why it doesn't make sense in that trade. But I do know there's a lot of teams out there that are looking for a puck moving, sizable guy like Korchinski to go into the top four. So the Blackhawks could definitely utilize that asset into a potential trade. So, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on. I love talking Blackhawks, but I also just love talking hockey and prospects with you. So if you could plug everything you got going on, what's to come, and I know you already plugged some of your interviews, but just overall, what are you up to and where can people find you?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. I love coming on. Well, love talking to you, but this is my first time on, so thanks for having me on. Draft Prospects Hockey, we are a scouting service. We just are, partnering with a lot of these junior leagues and bringing coverage like the USHL, some Brantford coverage as well. Like, where I'm interviewing a couple players in the next couple days, and one of them is going to be Mason West. I interviewed, my Daxon Rudolph interview is out now. I have Ethan Belchetz, who I'm interviewing as well. JP Hurlbert, I'm going to be interviewing. So a bunch of these guys that, don't really want to miss. I have a Vigo Bjork interview as well. So it's just a lot of like interviewing prospects. Last year we were the, I guess, scouting service that interviewed the most prospects out of anybody, which was really big for us because of our digital footprint. We want to get bigger. We want to, just partner with more of these agencies and try to talk to these players, talk about their strengths more than anything. Because at the same time, like they're 17 to 18-year-old kids, like I talked, or a 16, 15-year-olds like Landon Dupont I talked to. So that interview is going to be coming out in the next couple days. And we talked about Denny's. Like you got to remember,
Hmm.
these guys are so young that the first thing that they're going to talk about is the last thing that they did. Like it's so interesting to look back at how old I am now. Like I, I I turned 27 and I feel like I'm so old compared to these guys that I'm talking to now. But I feel like I was their age, just a couple of years back. So you got to realize that these guys are kids. They're going through a lot with their draft, and some of these guys are the face of the franchise, like Matthew Schaefer. So it's really interesting to get to know them as people and their strengths, and that's kind of what we want to bring in our scouting reports and kind of our reports on the players and their profiles. I'm going to be going to a Madison Capitals game, and we have a bunch of interviews lined up with. I have Nathan Grav coming with me, so we're going to be doing some cool stuff there with the USHL. The NHL Draft Simulator, I coded somehow with some app, and now it's awesome. And I have these creator rankings that we have, like Stephen Ellis, Grav is going to be coming on and doing featured stuff. So that's pretty cool. And you can create your own rankings too. It's really simple to do. It's drag and drop. Then you could share them with your friends. So check out draftprospectshockey.com. We have a lot of cool features, and all of our scouting reports are there. And on X at the Prospect Dawn, TikTok, and YouTube. But yeah, thank you so much for having me on. This is awesome.
Sweet. Thanks, Anthony. Appreciate it. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.